Hello, hello. I'm going to wait until I see you start pinging in here. Thank you for joining me. It is August. Surprisingly, I do not know where the time goes. That meaning or that saying has more and more meaning that resonates with me. So be patient with me for a moment. I'm just going to share this out in Facebook land. If you are joining me today and you'd like to ask me a question or you have a comment, please ensure that you are on the main Lifepro page. And I would also like to know where you're joining me from. So if you are a new user, perhaps you're here for a little bit of motivation. I'm going to turn on the comments. Teresa from Arkansas, I have an amazing certified lymphatic therapist. That is my gal. If you can see and hear me, I would appreciate someone letting me know. I'm too tall for my camera setup, so just give me a second while you look at my tremendously underwhelming A cup. One moment. Perfect. Okay. We're going. And as soon as that shares out, I'm going to kill Facebook land because inevitably, once I start a live, people try talking to me. So I'm going to show, oh yeah, there's like 38 notifications. Okay, I'm leaving Facebook. Yoko, hello, how are you? I received my Rumblex Plus. I'm located in Chicago. Glenn says all good video and audio. Awesome, thank you. Betsy is here. Hi again, Betsy. Kept myself awake for this. Thank you for doing this in Michigan. Heidi from Orlando, Florida. And as I said, Risa. I hope I'm saying, I don't know if it's Risa. I'm assuming it's like Lisa, but with an R. So I'm going to get rambling. This tends to be a fairly popular session, and it's always the first Saturday of the month. So far, nothing in my life has gotten in the way. So we're going to keep with that. It's very almost next to impossible to cover every technical aspect of a vibration plate, the history, the research. So I'm going to hope that some of you have caught my other sessions, and instead of maybe sounding like a squeaky wheel tonight, I want to take a little bit of a different approach. I'm still going to walk you through the basics for those of you that are new and are starting with whole body vibration, or for those that have never seen me in a session before. My approach is a little bit different than the manual. It's a little bit different than the way other people on this platform, even Lifepro, suggests using it. 80 to 90% of my day as a vibration plate expert that's been doing this almost 2 decades is in the chronic conditions wheelhouse. So I do tend to be a little ultra conservative because most people that are seeking a vibration plate, in my experience, are looking at it because they need to improve some aspect of their health situation. Whether that's a surgery situation, whether you're getting ready for surgery, maybe you are dealing with inflammation, maybe you have restless leg, maybe you have poor bone density, maybe you need to lose weight. There's a bazillion reasons that draw you to considering using this technology to simplify everything you've ever read, everything you've ever seen in a comment, post. A vibration plate is simply a tool. It's a tool that makes activity, even moving, more possible for more people. So instead of, why is a vibration plate good for blah? Or how do I use a vibration plate to accomplish blah? Most people in their health journey, whether it's at the peak of that health journey or you're slacking and you need to get back at things, most doctors and care providers will agree that activity contributes to a healthier body, healthier, more active lifestyle overall. All the plate is a way to be active. So for those of you that perhaps can't tolerate traditional activities, it's too high impact, it takes too long, I don't want to have to get in the car and go somewhere. Discipline at home is a hard thing. And sometimes, we join gyms and take classes because we need that connection and that motivation, that community. But sometimes, you want it for a therapeutic aspect, and you're going to see a therapist or a chiropractor or a naturopath. And sometimes, it's not like a gym where you can come and go as you please. So a vibration plate has two basic applications: feel good, wellness, symptom management kind of stuff, and fitness benefits. Fitness benefits are sometimes overlapped into the wellness, the feel good, the medical situation. Something like bone density is an example. Maybe you have a diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis. How do you strengthen your bones? Well, there are certainly medications available, but I would say the way that we were designed and intended, through weight-bearing activity. The vibration plate is a tool that makes weight-bearing activity easier. It also makes the amount of time that you have to spend doing traditional exercises less. So for many of you that are dealing with inflammation of any kind, I like to talk symptoms, not so much the diagnosed condition. The diagnosed condition is not exactly the same between 100 people. So I really like to talk about symptoms. Swelling is an overlap symptom. Pain is an overlap symptom. Poor sleep, lack of range of motion, all these things that you deal with, whether it's just because you're inactive or you're recovering from something, or perhaps you are dealing with a condition. A vibration plate is a tool that you can use to manage symptoms on an ongoing basis, or as fitness. With the fitness, there is going to be a precursor. I'm going to say, if you choose fitness, you do need to apply yourself. Before I get into my 101, I just want to make sure everybody is here and that there's no issues. Hello, Donna from Newfoundland. I spend a lot of time in New Brunswick. I'm about an hour north of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, for anyone who's curious about that. Okay. So it looks like I have everyone here. If you are just joining me, hello, Jean. Hello, Seppi. Hello, Joan again. Nice to see you. Or is that Joan? Or yeah, it is Joan. I got to get an up in my readers. I'm going to get to a quick little demo. If you can absolutely be patient with me, please stay awake for about the next 30 minutes. It flows a little quicker. I sometimes tend to go off on tangents. But if what your question may be for my new users or those of you that have to change, how curious if you can, I will get to questions at the end of my ramble. And I'm happy to do a couple of examples if there's any positions I can't cover it all. If I were to cover every exercise, stretch, or massage possible on a vibration plate, I'd have a book about this thick, because truly through modification, and my favorite saying is, you're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So what you do on the surface, the environment that a vibration plate creates is really kind of up to you. We tend to play in our comfort zones. If you're fearful at all, if you have ever joined a session with me before and you know how much I ramble, I got a mosquito bite in my ear. I'm sorry if it looks like I'm itching it. I am. I always start my demos seated because I can talk a little bit. So if you're suffering with fatigue, pain, any of the symptoms I already talked, if you're dealing with anything that deters you from being active, any pain in particular, fatigue, all those kinds of things, I want you to start seated. Ideally, long-term use, you're sitting on something that's about a 90-degree angle or even a little bit higher. Nothing's saying you can't use what you have. But long term, if the hips are lower than the knees, it's kind of like getting up out of that old sofa. You want to be in a more natural position while you're sitting in the environment of the vibration plate. Be mindful of your posture. It's easy to just sit there and slouch and look at the controls. But I'd like you to just try and engage your core, shoulders back. We want a nice straight line between the shoulders and the hips. And starting out, I want your feet positioned about hip width apart. Anything in the symptom management or for my new users, I want you to understand how to navigate the two really main settings that a vibration plate offers, so that you can customize based on the position that you're doing and how it feels to you, because it really is an individual experience. So I say hip width apart. Think back to the playground when you were a little kid playing on the teeter-totter. You know that if you put your feet wide, there's more shake. If you bring your feet closer to the center, there's less shake. This is applicable only in oscillating movement. Oscillating movement is my recommend movement of choice. It is the foundational movement. This is kind of where it all started with these machines. All of Lifepro's models currently offer oscillating. So all of my demonstrations are in oscillating, partly for a reason. I prefer it because it does feel more natural, as similar to how we walk across the floor. A vibration plate is less impact than walking, but there still are ways to overdo it. And the number one way in oscillating that people overdo it, there's this mentality or this stigma out there that wide is better. I'm getting more done. Well, you're getting more movement. You're getting more impact. For those of you that have position markers on your plates, I'm talking to you. There's a picture of a guy running, like he's jogging. If you lack the ability to go for a jog, or do not have the desire to do one, or the knees or the hips or whatever else would not allow for that, you have no business taking on maximum intensity. We get all, starstruck with the programs and playing around with the speeds and all the positions that we can do in the book and all the videos online. But if you understand the basic two things that you control, you're going to be able to navigate any position, any program, any experience you see virtually to your own tolerance and your own issues, because it is a personal tolerance thing. So for today, please indulge me. Feet are no more than hip width apart. And I'm just starting in manual mode. So any model with Lifepro that you start, the forward arrow, the play button will automatically start it for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes max runtime. I say max loudly because you have no business taking on max intensity, nor do you have any business taking on max time. I don't care if you're a conditioned athlete and you run triathlons all the time. This is a new activity, and there can be effects to your performance. So I want you to kind of understand how your body receives, and just give it time to get adapted to some of the forever benefits and mid and long-term benefits, which I want to walk into after I get to the next control factor, which is speed. So wide, more shake; close, less shake. And I suggest, if you find at this point it is uncomfortable, feel comfortable to bring your feet closer to the center. Because the next ingredient we're adding to this recipe is more speed. So if you're using your remote, on my model, I go up to 60 speeds. Speeds are not frequency. Frequency is the underlying term of speed with vibration plates. Medical grade have different capabilities than home grades. So be very, very careful if you're throwing research studies at me. 99% of the time, they are not applicable. And the people offering them are trying to sell you something. So feet dead center is the least amount of movement. And while you bring up the speed, you'll notice it's smoother. If your feet are really wide and you're bouncing all over the place, you don't really notice the subtlety of the increase in speed. So at speed 30 in oscillating, most of Lifepro's plates' top frequency is 15 hertz in oscillating. Oscillating cannot be compared to vertical or pulsation, which I will touch on very briefly after I get through this quick move here. So feet are close. At the mid speed, you'll notice it is faster. For those of you that are dealing with neuropathy, any kind of sensitivity issues, swelling, pain, I want to encourage short sessions, but more of them. So less time, more often; less intensity, more speed. That's my new slogan I came up with this month. Less is more. So less speed or less intensity, more speed; less duration, more often. So for those of you that are starting out with symptoms that need to be managed long before you get to the fitness, For those of you that are unable to bear weight or are fearful, you could do this 3-4 times today, 10 times if you want. But keep your sessions 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes. See how the sensitivity is. See how the circulation, all these other factors that come in. Short-term exposures and forever benefits I mentioned. For those of you who are able to stand, I'd like to stand. But before we do so, I just want to add a little variation while I briefly talk about forever benefits. Forever benefits, or the ones that kind of happen every single time you use a vibration plate, are really the reasons you fall in love with it, for the feel good or the symptom management stuff. For those of you dealing with upper body issues, if you watched my session earlier this week, I talked exclusively about upper body. Some of it was down on the ground, some of it started seated, which I'd like to show you a quick example now. For those of you that have not experimented or are starting out, if range allows you or limits you to seated or just standing exercises for now, you, through the resonance of movement, can put your hands on your knees, lock up those elbows, and again, focus on that good posture. Maybe we're arching the back a little bit. Maybe we're moving like a cat-cow. But with the arms locked, it allows the movement to transfer directly up through the arms, the shoulders, the neck a little bit. This is a good way to start getting used to the head vibes and the neck vibes that many of you are concerned about. The only concern is really you in the guarding and protecting that we do to protect deficient areas. So I want you to just chill, relax. If you are fearful, maybe just start by adding the hands. Maybe you've got arthritic issues or swelling in the hands. And you'll notice by back here, you feel a little bit of secondary movement. But the more you slide those hands towards the knee, you can see in the mirror. Okay. What's going to intensify it is the lockup. If this is okay and you survived, I want you to just focus on relaxing. Don't fight and resist. When you fight and resist, you become rigid and you amplify the head vibe, the vertigo, whatever may be concerning you above the neck. Again, it's just movement, guys. You're exposed to more movement walking up and down the stairs. Okay, now I've progressed to my elbows. I want a nice straight elbow if range of motion allows. If you have too much girth or a much larger cup size than you may find this easier if you come a little bit further out on the forearms. But the best, most direct contact, point of contact, is the elbow. That's what drives the movement directly up to the shoulders. And keep that neck and spine in a neutral position to start, just till you kind of get a feel for it. If at this point or on the earlier position, it's just too much for the head, remember you're always in control. Bring the feet a little closer. Resume. And you reduce the intensity or you increase the intensity. Okay, you play with whatever the comfort zone is. But I assure you, in this area, especially if you're dealing with concerns there, a faster speed, a smoother, less choppy speed is going to be much more tolerable. The slow speeds are like a Bosu ball. They have their place, but starting out, I really want you to experiment with the combinations of wide and close foot placement and fast and slow speeds, regardless of what position, to see what's comfortable for you. So now that we're a little bit loosey-goosey, for those who are able to stand, we're going to do that now, and we're going to keep talking benefits. So short term, as I said, oh, wait a minute. I need to get a little taller. For those of you posting away, feel free to do so. Tell me where you are from. If you are a new user, if you're a seasoned user here, maybe you're just here for a butt kick. I always invite that. Sometimes coming to my monthly lives is a good way to just be accountable and check in. Oh, I forgot that. As I said, there's a lot of info. I could be here literally for a week solid with all the variations and all the nuances. One basic position can have 15, 20 different variations. And look at how many different types of bodies we're dealing with out there. So just like when we were seated initially, I want your feet positioned about hip width apart. In the mirror beside me, you see that line? I didn't quite line up perfectly. But I want you to try focusing on a nice line between the shoulders and the heels. And that's going to distribute about 60 to 70% of the weight on the heels. If you're moving too much forward or the knees are sticking forward, you'll feel it more prominently on the balls of the feet, maybe the shins, the knees. If it's too much backwards, you're constantly feeling like this, okay? If you are dealing with balance issues, I've got a little ladder. Maybe position yourself close to a counter, the back of a couch, the back of a chair, something. Hang on for stability and confidence more so than dear life, if you will, or do a combination of standing and seated. Now, if at any point when you're standing, squatting, doing whatever, if it feels too much on the noodle, I want you to do a knee check. The knee should be soft. You can lock the legs. That's advanced, and we'll talk more. Many of you do this because you feel it in different areas. The shake is not the magic, although it may feel even relief for those of you maybe dealing with tension or lymphatic issues. But the goal is to let the muscles absorb and keep the body stable upon this surface. So knees are slightly bent. Every time you set foot on this machine, we are boosting circulation, lymph. I feel all choppy. I'm bringing it back up in speed. So again, I'm at about 25, 30. When I say mid-range, 20 to 30 on my machine. It might be 50 to 60 on yours, or 60 to 70. I want you to mix up the speed from week to week or day to day. But within those ranges, when you're starting out, you'll find the mid speeds much more soothing and tolerable. And you need to spend less time. Again, less time, especially if it is medicinal or feel good, symptom management type stuff. So our knees are slightly bent. How do we know if our knees are not bent enough? Well, listen to my voice as I lock them. For those of you that talk about vertigo and the ear ringing of the tinnitus and the eyes and the retina, anything of the dental work, anything above the knees, you're in control of your experience. I want you to listen to my lessons. Bend the knees. And if you're unable to do that for long periods, do a combination of sitting. By standing really wide and standing really tall, the head takes all the movement. Your body's like a pendulum, and your body's so busy trying to keep stable, you tend to fight and resist it, and it's not a pleasant experience. This isn't something you need to endure. Okay, soft knees. The only real difference between feel good, once you're confident standing, the knees are a little bit bent, you can just stand here for 10 minutes, but I want you to experiment and check the balance. Those forever benefits of lymph, circulation, better balance. Just by standing on this plate, your body is perpetually, kind of struggling to keep you upright through all these little micro movements that are tilting you side to side, just like walking. So if balance is okay, or it's something you're working on and you want to challenge without doing, fancy balance moves, like Karate Kid stuff, my favorite way to boost balance, and do it often, if you feel really unstable, you're going out for coffee, increased circulation and lymph, boosted balance is something you may need 50 times a day. It might be, let the symptoms decide when you need a fix, but keep it brief, 1-2 minutes. So for balance, and this is very, very complicated, just kidding. Just close the eyes. Try for a second and open them back up. Now try closing them for 2 to 3 seconds. And you feel that proprioception, that body awareness kicking in. So for those of you dealing with conditions that present balance, poor balance, symptoms like falling, risk of falling, closing the eyes is a great way to get stability really, really quick. And this is a great way to use it as a spot treatment. 2 to 3 minutes of just standing, maybe some light weight shifts, keeping if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable closing the eyes, give yourself something to hang on to. But an easy way for you to boost balance. And all the while, you're getting a boost of circulation and lymphatic movement. So for those of you that are aspiring for more mid to long-term goals, so short-term is that lymph circulation, often pain reduction, swelling reduction. You're going to get better flexibility, less tension, less stress. You're going to improve your mood because you're moving, and that's what we're made to do. So for those of you wanting to do fitness, it really simply means you need to do fitness stuff, fitness moves. So instead of standing, if you're not exercising now regularly, stool's in place. It's a really great way. The stool, having it there, if you've overcommitted or you have a bad knee or a bad hip, you can simply sit back down. So if I've already pushed you enough and you'd like to continue, you can sit back down, take a breather. You do not have to stay standing. For those of you that are able to bear weight, you've been cleared for activity, a basic squat really should be a non-issue. If you're dealing with joint replacements of any kind, implants, any of those IUDs, anything that has been put into your body that requires a period of recovery and healing, you need to adhere to your recovery and healing guidelines. But there are ways, that you can get creative with your positions. Maybe you can stand or sit and just get some circulation and some lymph going and keep the hip replacement out of the equation. Modify with the intensity, of course, when you're dealing with any deficiencies. But for those of you that are up for it and able and willing, that's really the key, guys. We're going to squat. Now, I got a really bad knee. That's how I got into this almost 2 decades ago. And you want to try focusing on good positioning. Again, if you look in the mirror, if I'm doing a good job, my elbow or my shoulder should be in line with my hips and my heels. And just hold still. When you're holding still, you can really fine tune, put your hands on your legs. You can feel those muscles responding to the movement and trying to keep you stable. And for those of you that are dealing with inflammation, bad knee, bad ankle, bad big toe, whatever it is, the less that we require the joints to physically go through that range of motion and sustain the ever-changing mass while stabilizing you on this moving surface, you can fatigue those muscles before the bad knee and the bad hip give out. So work on static poses. Maybe you're just bending down a little bit more. Basically, a squat is the one thing we do umpteen bazillion times a day. This is a standing squat. This is a sitting squat. For those of you that are comfortable and have balance, I love doing the sit to stand. Many of my therapists would do this off the edge of a massage table or a chair. You practice standing up and you practice sitting down. All the while, these day-to-day movements, fitness movements, whatever the movement is that you're doing on the plate, you get the added advantage of that circulation, lymph, those type of things. A vibration plate, through the 2 factors of amplitude, how much you're moving and how fast, superficially increase your exposure to gravity. I'm not going to give you a gravity lecture today, but all the stories that you've heard about the astronauts and how they recovered from space using vibration plates, well, there is some truth to that story. And it wasn't any one type of machine or frequency or program or setting. It's probably one of the most heavily researched topics is increased bone density. But it's bone density in itself is more about bearing your mass, and bearing your mass makes your bones stronger. If you are willing to do exercises that challenge the muscles further, making them requiring them to pull harder on the bones, making them work harder is going to make them adapt and change and become stronger. Same with the bones. If you're just doing the bare minimum and going through the motions on those, that exercise sheet that your physio sent you to go home and do that you rarely do, a vibration plate's an awesome tool to, maybe you have a good old program or a therapy program that you're supposed to be doing regularly at home. Do it on the surface of the plate. Increase the amount of benefits you're getting. Reduce the amount of time and impact. For those of you that do like longer workouts, it's a great tool. You can extend your durations. Maybe you're doing more of a total body program where there's some upper body, some massage. If range of motion allows you to get down on the ground, same lessons apply. Wider, closer. You control the intensity. Bone density, weight loss, a lot of these types of benefits are more what I would call the mid to long term. Mid, you may see some toning, you may see some initial weight loss. You're probably going to see further improved cardiovascular, some endurance, lymphatic pathways are becoming much, much more effective. But long term, and the key I don't mean I bought a vibration machine today and it's been sitting in my living room for a year. consistent use is the key. I haven't nagged that enough in tonight's session. The real results, whatever the results are that you're looking for, and I'd rather jump to questions than lecture you further. Again, this is just a tool that makes activity more possible, more beneficial, with less impact in less time. So if you really want to understand the benefits, or whether, you know, a vibration plate is appropriate for something, go to the internet and look up whether activity is appropriate, or look into the benefits, the health benefits of gravity and the relationship that our body has with it on Earth. So not exposure to gravity in a way that you're like a race car or, you know, deep sea diving. Gravity in the sense that you are increasing the mass of your body while you are on the surface of these plates, but it's not accumulating on you. You're not going one direction. There's these, through the movements, there's this split second push where the muscle is firing, and then a split second later there's a release where there's a free fall. So you're alternating and conditioning in that natural movement, how our body was designed to walk across the floor. So bone density, again, I really want to hit home because I had a couple questions today on this. It is not any one frequency. Anyone that is trying to funnel you into one part of quite a bit of information, if you actually took a look at the study. There's two basic movement types. I did touch briefly on vertical. Vertical really doesn't exist anymore, guys. Vertical machines, the research back in the day, they had a much higher frequency. They move much faster, but they had substantially less amplitude than their oscillating counterparts. And they were fixed amplitudes. They were moving in the amounts of the true machines, the German steel, heavily researched and funded, would move 2 to 4 millimeters each time they moved. So those machine performance characteristics are generally 30 to 50 in the original medical devices. The range has expanded and those frequencies still exist in modern vertical and pulsations. Pulsation is a combination or more of a feature in my opinion. The Rumblex models offer it. The Turbo model offers it. It is a milder, it feels more like vibration. It's got its place, but you're not, in my opinion, in my 20 years of experience, using both commercial and home grades side by side. One is not better than the other. Both have pros and cons. But in my opinion, and someone supporting more people using this equipment, oscillating is more preferred. And if you don't like how it feels, you're not going to use it anyway. So it's more preferred by more of my users. It feels more natural. And honest, in today's world, in the long run, it's much more affordable to obtain. The frequency ranges on oscillating are lower, but they have much more movement. And you adjust it on the fly depending on your foot position. Today's modern verticals, the pulsation modes, regardless of what claims may be made on social media, and I'm happy to have this conversation with any supplier, any researcher, any member, anytime. The frequencies are absolutely accurate. The speeds on the verticals the pulsation mode are in those 30 to 50 ranges. But the amount of amplitude in today's modern is less than a millimeter, 0.3, 0.5. So much, much more therapeutic. And what amplitude really equates to, the amount of movement, is how far your muscles need to react and respond. So in the long run, as far as progression, by far, oscillating hands down has more ability, in my experience, to progress. You can certainly add weight. There's all kinds of things you can do to progress. But as far as having adjustable amplitude, you're going to be able to train more effectively, just being in control of that experiences versus a preset. And many of the big brand names out there, I'm not naming any, where you're investing $2,000 to $3,000, you get 2 speeds and 1 amplitude setting. And they feel great for about the first month, but all you can do from there is make what you're doing more challenging and go longer and longer, because the machines themselves, price is not an indication in today's market of performance. So understand apples and oranges are both fruit, but they taste completely different. They look completely different. In this case, they operate very different. So one is not better than the other. Lateral is another movement, side to side, for those of you that are going to ask, because I didn't say anything. I also consider it more of a feature. There are a couple of studies out there, one on lymph. So, some people will say, oh, well, everybody knows that lateral is better for lymph. Well, here's a secret. When you move, lymph moves. So any movement is going to help with lymph. Any movement's going to help with balance. Any movement's going to help with circulation. How the movement feels to you and what your personal preference is what's going to decide in the end. Because as I said earlier about nagging you, consistency, regular use is the key. I need to kill some blinding light. And I need to come say hello to my peeps. How often, how long? I'm going to drop my list of videos in the comments here after the live wraps up. So, how often do you exercise versus how long do you go for a stroll in the park? A lot of the how often, how long, what setting, once you kind of understand and get past just the first week or two of experimenting and seeing, it's not about what the vibration plate can do for you in a lot of cases. It's the body and the situation you're bringing to the equation at the time. If you're dealing with deficiencies, if you've recently fallen off your bike and scraped your elbow. So I'm going to scroll up to the top here. If you are just joining me and you're listening to my ramblings, please tell me where you're from. If I don't get a chance to send a little loving note, I do like to go back into my live after the fact and make comments to each of you. So I'll make sure that I do that. If you're watching this on a recorded basis, or if you have a question for those of you joining me now that you want to mention after the fact, always tag me at Debby with a Y, and for sure I'll get the notification from Facebook. So again, as I get my voice back, I'm going to pick up from Betsy, Glenn, Yoko, Risa, Joan, good evening. Seppi says, I have the waiver and got it for sciatica pain, major hip and glute pain, and weight loss. Excited to learn about it. Okay, so, perfect example. So this is an example of where you're dealing with something that's, maybe short term, maybe it's a chronic thing that probably is going to hinder you from busting a move and doing the fitness. So I would suggest using the vibration plate for a little feel good before you get to the fitness, or a little symptom management. So there's two ways I like to hit to target the sciatic, and someone else had asked me this week. So thank you for bringing this up. Again, I can't cover every scenario, but this is a big one. So for those of you that lack range of motion, there's a starting point, and it's a video that there's a couple of chiropractors out there and therapists. I've seen this video. I don't know that it's any one person's intellect, but I've seen the term the nerve floss. So if you, for your sciatic, have a stretch or a position you're supposed to be doing that offers relief, try doing it on the environment of a vibration plate, because you're probably going to get relief faster. It's going to relieve those symptoms quicker. So if you're dealing with pain of any kind, sciatica, I really want you to listen to my lesson of faster speed. So less intensity, more speed. So feet are, if you're dealing with sciatic right now, I want your feet basically dead center, okay? Just get it moving, perhaps even just putting your feet on the plate for 10, 15 seconds. See how you feel. If you're dealing with secondary symptoms like neuropathy, the swelling is causing lack of sensation, you've got gout, like anything like that, guys, you may notice a pins and needles, a tingly. That's an increase in circulation and lymphatic movement. For those of you dealing with sensitivity issues, it's not uncommon to have more sensation while you're on the plate, but be cautious of overdoing it. I want you to keep it to a minute or two, see how you feel. Even though I'm going to talk longer than that, it's easier to do it more often. You can always add more sugar to the coffee, but you can't take it away. Okay? So the nerve floss is a two-part move. You can see in the mirror, one leg at a time. I'm going to work this side. You may want to hang on for stability. We're going to take this leg. We're going to straighten it if possible. If not possible, Raise it as much as you can and pull those toes slightly towards you. Okay. So all we're going to do is lift and almost feel a slight calf stretch. I don't want you to force it or bounce. Just let you may, for those of you that are severe, maybe you're just resting it on the edge of the platform. So the second part of the move is from the torso. I want you with your eyesight looking about 45. You're raising the head just slightly, just enough till you feel a little arch in that low back at the same time. So you have to be coordinated. So we're going to raise the head, the leg, relax. The head, keep that core engaged. If it's not painful, or as you do a couple of reps, you find it's loosening up or it's feeling better, you may want to extend your duration. Maybe try lifting the toes, play with a variation, but just to the point where you're feeling it. Don't push beyond. And just because the other leg may or may not have an issue, I always like to do both sides. It's a nice stretch. Once you develop the range of motion, I love stretching my hamstrings this way. Sometimes I just take a break. Okay? And you can do that seated in a chair, off the edge of the bed, whatever works. Option 2, for those of you that have range of motion, maybe you have hypermobility, there's other things. I don't know what this is called, but I call it the figure 4. I don't want your ankle all hunched up, but you're taking from the knee down and you're resting it on top of the knee, behind the kneecap, up on the thigh a bit, and your foot should be able to move freely. Now this may be killer already. You're going to feel it kind of on that outer thigh, maybe a little bit of it in the groin if you're feeling tension there. While we're doing this, I want you, again, to focus on really good posture. For those of you that have got range and aren't really feeling it yet, I want you to push your chest towards your leg ever so slightly. And you're going to feel it. We're not looking like this. We're taking that straight back and we're just pivoting forward at the hips. Like somebody's pulling you with a puppet string. And you'll feel it. You want to get a little deeper. You got the tolerance. Take that hand. I got one hand on the heel, on the knee, and I'm just pressing into it. It opens up that hip a little bit deeper. Relax. 2, 3. Push in as you lean forward. Hold. 2. Also something that you can totally do seated in a chair. I have done this driving in my car. Yeah, I'll admit it. Sometimes I get seized up, but I've got the range of motion to do so. For those of you that are dealing with hypermobility or prolapse, be cautious. I spoke briefly about some circulation a little bit earlier. And the pins and needles, the itchiness, that's kind of a newbie thing. I could do a whole session on new user things. If you've overdone it, it's the same as overdoing other things. You're probably going to be a little sore the next day, probably a little tired, maybe a little stiff. A minute or 2 will really help boost recovery. That's something vibration plates are also heavily researched in. And just be cautious. If you do have short sessions, give you energy and they make you feel good. Don't go doing a whole bunch of housework and mowing the lawn just because you feel like you can. When you're dealing with chronic issues, chronic fatigue, those type of things that weigh you down and you get energy and you feel like good, you tend to do too much. So just like a pill or a new therapy, give this, 3 weeks to 30 days for your body to become assimilated, get used to it. Play around with it all you want on the feel good stuff, the stretches. I'll try this move, but keep your intensity less and your speed more, and keep your durations brief and do it more often. I hope that helped, Seppi. Jean says Gina. Linda says she is here from South Jersey. Thank you for joining me. Linda, different Linda. No, same Linda. South Jersey, Linda from South Jersey. Well, hello twice. Jean says, I just unboxed mine last week. I used it 3 times a day for 10 minutes each time. The next day I felt awful. Did I overdo it? I was just on the lateral movement on level 1. If you're just joining in, Jean, you got to rewind and watch from the beginning. Yes, you have absolutely overdone it. 3 times in the first day on max time. Yeah, if you're coming from an inactive place, it's when you're on it, it feels really good and very empowering, especially if you're dealing with sluggish lymph and heavy legs and all those lymphedema, lipedema related things that I spend too much time trying to improve, if you will. But less is more, but more often. So max time, and you probably had your feet wide. We think very often like a treadmill. Well, I only went on level 1. It's not how fast the walk is. It's how far. It's not how long the jog was. If you haven't jogged in a long time, it's the amount of impact that, different types of activity present. And those wide feet are max impact coupled with max time. Yeah, you probably felt awful, either muscle soreness. A lot of times, even a little bit of use, as I mentioned, one of the perpetual or ongoing benefits is a boost in circulation, lymphatic movement. We're oxygenating the blood. Well, of course, detoxification is another, I think it's a good thing. Some would refer to it as a side effect. I call it a side benefit. So as you get lymph, systems improving, circulation is becoming better, of course, it's going to enable your body to more effectively perform its function, whatever that function is. And if it's detoxification, if you're constipated, urinary incontinence, there's all kinds of things that more the midterm, sometimes short, tend to improve. So keep it brief. If you're still dying, Jean, a couple, 3 minutes just to dissipate any muscle soreness or stiffness, but please review, try going a little faster with less intensity, and keep those durations more short, 2 to 3 minutes, and use it more often, at least for the first week or so, and see how you feel. Bernadette, hello. What intensity for severe osteoporosis to begin? No cookie cutter here. How much weight would you lift at the gym to improve osteoporosis? It really depends. A vibration plate and what you are personally ready for, or what tolerance. Intensity for me is the foot distance. So I would say if you're dealing with severe osteoporosis, it's more about working on balance and stability first. That would be a short-term goal. Any time you spend on the plate is gonna make you more stable. It's gonna give you energy. The osteoporosis, let me simplify it. It's just about bearing your mass regularly. So use your plate often for the symptom management piece. And every minute or two that you're on the plate, your body is resisting its own mass. You're making those bones stronger. If you're comfortable and able to progress with more intensity as far as settings, more intensity by adding mass, more intensity in the difficulty of your exercises, the more you challenge your body, the more it's going to respond and make those bones stronger, and make the muscles, plumper, and as well as we age, they tend to lose that plumpness. Is that's not the technical word either. But if you are dealing with osteoporosis, if you're being proactive, whatever the reason, you're looking at that consistent weight bearing exercises and intensity, durations, just like going to the gym. There's a lot of different ways that you can, improve bone density. So you might be lifting weights. Maybe you're running on a treadmill. Maybe you're taking a rebounder class. There's lots of variety. A plate is just a tool to make floor-based exercises more effective in less time. So I encourage you to experiment, as I showed in the demo in the beginning. I hope that makes sense, Bernadette. And if you keep a note, later I will post a recap of all my sessions, but I highlight some of them that you can watch on YouTube. One of them is very, below baseline, where, there's that risk of falling, and we need to progress to a point where we can bear our mass. You will get some benefit absolutely seated in a stool, and then progressing on to more challenging things to pick up the density. I hope that helps. What does the speed mean for the waiver? Like P1 or 2 for someone with fibromyalgia or sciatica and hip pain. All videos seem not to be for the waiver. Seppi, I'm going to ask you to, I hope some of the information I spoke about tonight, really, I don't talk speeds or programs or levels. I really want you to understand and start with the basics of how it moves, what movements your plate offers. The waiver is oscillating. So I would suggest just starting in manual mode. Hit the play button as soon as you power up your machine, and what speeds feel good to you. Fibromyalgia, what are the symptoms that you're dealing with? There is absolutely not a cookie cutter setting of, this is best for that. And in my opinion, and I deal with a lot of people with fibromyalgia, MS, those type of symptoms. Maybe it's pain, maybe it's restless leg, maybe it presents in different parts of the body. So you want to do things associated to the symptom to a degree, be that an exercise or a stretch. What setting you can tolerate is really something I want you to experiment with. But first, understand oscillating is its own movement. Lateral is a completely different movement, and the pulsation is another movement. Before you start combining all of these things, learn the basics and understand your preferences a bit in each of them, and then progress forward. If you're looking for something specific, I have done well over probably 300 talks here now. If you search fibromyalgia and Debby with a Y, if you search any medical condition and Debby with a Y, 9 times out of 10, I've done an awareness day or something related. That's probably going to be a little more specific than I can get into the general chat here today. I hope that helps. But the basics of how you start are exactly the same. And my getting started video will be in the link that I provide here at the end. Hello, Holly from Nashville. Hello, Linda, who is a new user from Pennsylvania. Keep it simple. Give your body a week or two to get used to it. It's easy to overdo it. Hello, Marlene from Manitoba. How are the mosquitoes this time of year? We've actually had a pretty good year. It's been pretty dry out here in Alberta. Karen is from Queensland. I love doing late sessions because my Oz and my New Zealand folks can check in. I found your videos invaluable for a number of reasons. I strongly recommend any new user take the time to watch them before starting to avoid problems later. I've certainly noticed the benefits of the vibration plate. Oh, Karen, that's very kind. You probably know me. I have a specific group dedicated to fat disorders, lipedema, lymphedema, and there's no lipedema in the manual. It doesn't exist in the medical book for most countries. So no, I can't offer a setting. A lot of the research that's out there, certainly has indications but it's, they don't research exercise to the intricacy that you'd like either. But they know it's beneficial and effective. What type of exercise, how often, the same is true with the machine. There's just too many variables to cookie cutter it. And there's too many uniquenesses, be that good or bad, deficiencies you're dealing with between each of you. Thanks for joining from Queensland. Katrina says, hello from Washington State. I know you, Katrina. Enjoy full workouts, P1, 2, 3, Rumblex 4D Pro, interested in lymphatic settings. Katrina, I don't offer settings and I don't talk P1, 2, 3. Programs are not universal. There's hundreds of vibration plates out there. And they're not necessarily universal between models. The Pro certainly has a few more accessories that are exclusive to that model, but I also encourage you to understand the basic differences between the 3 movements. More movements and the set it, forget it approach is only going to get you so far. For those of you that are dealing with chronic issues, I advise you to understand your own tolerances and the simplicity of each of the movements first. For those of you that are dealing with fitness, and don't have maybe deficiencies to deal with, when you go to the gym, do you do everything all the time? And if you do, how do you progress from there? Or where do you go from there? So I caution you, what does a full workout mean? Is that 5 minutes? Is that 15 minutes? Is it 20 positions? Is it 5 exercises? I'm not picking on you, Katrina. But yeah, sometimes the lingo that we discuss in these groups, I contradict. And a lot of it is related to, like I say, I tend to be conservative with the amount of chronic stuff that I deal with. And I want to give you guys a basic foundation that you can build on. The Pro is an awesome model. It's larger. I'm glad you're enjoying the programs. I particularly like the stationary straps on that. The straps affixed to the ends of the plate, and you can resist and work on static exercises. It's a cool feature that really is only available on some medical grade plates. Just a point of interest. I do, and I'm going to post a bunch of my videos as well, Katrina, if you're looking for some more workout specific stuff. I tend to be a little bit more HIIT style because I still have a bad knee and maybe a little bit of a bad attitude sometimes. I prefer to keep my sessions short, and I tend to break it into body parts. So I do legs like every morning to get my knee working. And while I'm, fixing my knee crickety cracking, I do some squats. I like to boost my metabolism. If it's tank top season, I tend to focus a little bit more on upper body. I like direct stuff like my push-ups. I do like adding weights. A lot of the weights that Lifepro has brought in the adjustable format, there's so many awesome variations. I love adding that because for me, I prefer static poses. If my knee's giving me grief and during times of weather change, the arthritis kicks in. So I can still mass up, weight up, and then push my muscles further, burn more calories, but not be as taxing on the joints or those inflammatory areas. I hope that helps. Darlene says, hello from hello, hi, Rom. Hi from KS. Have had my Romlex for a couple weeks. Binge watching all of the Lifepro videos. My only question is the different motion. What different benefit wise? Hope that makes sense. I would say, there's no different benefits. All of the different movements really, if you're standing on the plate, if you're moving, a lot of the benefits are similar between the movements, but the level of challenge and how you navigate using them, there are some subtle differences. And I went over those at the beginning. I will also post in my video links if you want to maybe look at some more specific topics. I do have one that's called frequency, amplitude, what does it all mean, where I get into the different movement types, the performance characteristics behind them, for those of you that are curious about the technical aspects of the machines, the true technical aspects of the machines. And a lot of it really boils down to preference. I prefer oscillating. It does tend to be more widely preferred once you get used to it because it does mimic our natural movement of walking. Pulsation is a milder, I would say more of a local direct. I don't love standing on pulsation. It tickles my nose a little bit, but it's awesome for neuropathy, lower leg issues as an add-on to oscillating. Lateral, not my fave, never has been, but those of you that like it, love it and swear by it, and you're getting benefits. Oh no, there's never been a study. A lot of times if you look at Lifepro's group and the 50,000+ people, the anecdotal and empirical evidence absolutely is there. And for a lot of years, it's been outweighing the research. But guess what? If you're buying $300, $400, $500 vibration plates, nobody's going to be buying $15,000, $20,000 ones. Makes sense? So we'll move on from there before I get off on too big of a tangent. Linda says, replying to Karen, just found Debbie today. I can already tell she knows her stuff. I talk too much. I do. But thank you, Linda, for saying so. Very kind. Joan says, I've had my waiver now 2 months. Awesome. I use it every day for 15 minutes on program number 9. I usually use the straps. I should probably mix it up. You should probably mix it up. But you know what? Just by writing that, sometimes it's a really good way of being accountable. Or if you tend to join me monthly, like some of you are beginning to, just for, I got to check it with Deb this month. I better get back on my plate. Even if that's all I do for you, things change. You might have an accident, or, maybe you've improved and it's time to mix things up. So, 15 minutes, if you're just standing there, it's really hard for me to say, should you mix it up? What are you trying to accomplish? I see these posts all the time. Oh, I did it for 15 minutes today. Why? Are you trying to move lymph? Are you trying to lose 50 pounds? Did you do it just because it made you feel good? So, the settings and then how long, if it's just your thing and it's how you meditate, do what you like. But if you had real goals, or you have changing or evolving goals, the positions, the settings should somewhat be in complement with them. It just really depends how quickly you want to progress forward with those goals. So keep looking through the windshield, not the rear view mirror. Sometimes you need to look through the rear view mirror if you need to take a step back. You've had an injury, you've had surgery. I've been doing this long enough, and I support enough medical facilities in this world that there's always a way that you can modify to use your machine and get some of those forever basic benefits. But we need to understand a little further. If you are dealing with a medical issue, you got contraindications, yes, there'll be a video posted. My contraindications are different than Lifepro's because I've been doing this 20 years, and my level of experience and guidance is just different than what we want to maybe put into a manual and have you figure out on your own. So if you are dealing with something severe, if it's not in the manual, if you've had a poor experience, please allow me the opportunity to turn it around and post a question if you do have it. And I do offer one-on-ones for Lifepro and my personal group members. But I could kill you with my free stuff on YouTube, and I've been trying better to shorten it. So I'll drop my Lifepro sessions and a link to my own personal stuff if you guys want to do a snoop there later. Maria says, can you tell me how often it is okay to use the vibration plate? Depends what you're wanting to use it for. I have a short video both on Lifepro and my own pages. Time. So if it's for symptom management, I tend to recommend more spot treatment mentality, less time, but more often. So if you're dealing with severe pain or swelling and the machine is giving you relief, use it whenever you want and let the symptoms drive when it needs a fix, if you will. But keep it short, brief, 1-2 minutes. See how you feel. And what you'll notice over time typically is you can use it longer and have better tolerance. The less is more approach. I want to make sure, especially if you're dealing with some severe symptoms, you have fatigue. That's what pain and being pissed off does to you. It makes you tired. So you want to make sure that you're doing just enough to reserve and boost the energy versus do too long and deplete it or get some muscle soreness. And sometimes when you get muscle soreness, you forget the different, if you haven't exercised in a long time, you forget what exercise pain feels like compared to the regular old knee or hip or back pain. So if you're sore the next day, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you're exercising areas that you haven't done in decades, perhaps. I hope that makes sense. So if you are using it more often and it's giving you relief, your body will tell you if you've done too much. But if you're a new user, keep it, I've got some using it 5-10 times a day, but it might be for a minute or two. If it's fitness, you should be pushing to a point of fatigue, have some purpose, and once a day, certainly on most body parts. Jennifer says, what should my vibration plate be set for lymphedema and separately for osteoporosis? You're going to have to watch back through this. I have covered both of these points. When you move, lymph moves. So there is no setting for lymphedema. What are your symptoms that you're trying to address? Osteoporosis. Are you risk at falling, or are you a triathlete just being proactive? So it really depends. If for lymphedema and osteoporosis, I will say you don't have to do different things. The whole time that you're doing exercises, standing, putting your feet on it, you are moving lymph and circulation. So lymphedema, one of the common reasons many in the community use it, is a vibration plate can boost your lymph and circulation, even if you can't move. If you're dealing with severe paralysis, which I deal with in many of my groups, even with pediatrics, when you lack the ability due to paralysis or some symptom that you're dealing with, a plate can move you when you can't move. Whether you're sitting in a chair or you've got a lift and you've got more complicated aids in your home or your therapy environment, you're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. The osteoporosis, again, it's what are the symptoms? Is it poor balance? Are you at severe risk of falling? Are you recovering from a break? Sometimes there's short-term stuff you want to address and deal with first. Osteoporosis, long-term, bearing your mass regularly. So use the machine regularly for the lymph, and the side effect, the side benefit is you're building the bone density without having to do anything extra on top of that. I'd prefer if you put a little effort in that when the time comes. The more you do, the more benefit you're going to get. In effort, not time. Gina says, interested. I assume you're marking this for later. Hello, Wanda. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Angie from New Jersey. Hello. Jennifer from Indianapolis. I love the winter flag. Lisa is here from Mississauga. I can say it. Mississauga. For those of you that do Mississippi, and I'm dating myself right now, remember the Mississippi skipping rope thing? Well, in Canada, we did it as Mississauga. That's my 2 cents to Lisa. Catherine's here from Sandy, Oregon. Love Oregon. I've been through there a couple times on drives. Jean says, Beth, thank you for sharing with Beth. Glenn says, new customer with the waiver. Have no problem at all with top speed 99 and 15-minute sessions twice a day of wide stance. Is there a reason not to do that? My primary reason for purchase was hope to get rid of swelling, debilitating pain in legs, after which a week are improving. Glenn, if you've been following me from the beginning, honestly, it gets a little exhausting at times, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but what are you trying to accomplish? Is it okay? You know, I guess. I mean, you're not having any of ill effects maybe right now, but where do you go from there? Like, are you going to go a half hour, then 3/4 of an hour, then 2 hours? And then you say that you're trying to reduce swelling and debilitating pain in legs. Well, most of my experience with people that have debilitating pain, if you don't have a condition and it's undiagnosed, I wouldn't be going max intensity and max time. If you're dealing with issues, I'd want to find out what's causing the issues and kind of tailor what I'm doing. Again, not trying to pick on you, but common sense kind of applies. So, if I were to go into your doctor's office and say, well, can I go for a walk today? And they would say, well, yeah. Well, how long can I go? Or how often can I go? What are they going to say to you? They're going to say, well, it depends. If you ask your doctor, well, can I go for a jog today? Like full out for as long as I can? It's probably going to be more a matter of how long you last. So, you do anything for a period of time and your body does become conditioned to it. So the downside of that approach is not only, you tend to just, you get bored and you have to just keep going longer and longer, which from a therapeutic standpoint, some people love to do it that way. But if you're dealing with debilitating pain, I want you to bring those feet a little bit closer. I'd be concerned long-term that you're overdoing something. Is this debilitating pain due to nerve damage? Is there something broken down there? Is it improving? Is it getting worse? I don't want you feeling in any way that you have to suck it up and push through. That's not the approach to take. And, have a bit more of a, understanding why you're using it. The debilitating pain should be resolved within a minute or two. If it's not, I would want to understand a little bit more about what's going on. If it's giving you relief, great. But I would say back it off, get some more purpose. If you're just standing there with your feet wide and letting the machine do all the work, maybe start doing some calf raises, maybe start doing some light squats, start doing other things to further improve those areas. The swelling, like I say, lymph is a perpetual, ever occurring benefit. So it's going to improve, but by forcing those muscles to work a little harder, engage a little bit more, those lymphatic vessels that are intertwined all throughout the muscle tissue are now having to work and become more effective. So optimally, you're getting more purpose to your positions because then your lymphatics, your circulation, your bones, all of it's going to work better. Your body's only going to show up and deliver what you require it to do. And if you're just going through the motions, you're just going to be maintaining over a period of time. So I hope you mix it up. And if you're pushing yourself and honestly putting some effort forth, you're not going to last 15 minutes per position. 30 seconds to a minute is me. I try to make my positions more challenging for my body type and how my knee might be feeling at the time. I hope that makes sense, Glenn. Linda says, I've had the waiver about 2 weeks. I have been on it every day, 1 to 3 minutes, mostly 3 times a day. Anytime my leg begins to feel heavy or hurt, love it. Oh, I love you. So this isn't a right or wrong, but this is just my preference. I have so many people that hurt themselves, not long-term, not long damage, but you overdo it or you aggravate something that you're already dealing with. Or even worse, you aggravate something you didn't even know you were dealing with. And then it's the vibration machine's fault because blah, blah, blah. And then I say, well, what did you do? And you go, well, I went 10 minutes on speed 2. Well, that gives me a little bit of info, but were you standing? Were you squatting? Did you have one toe on it? Were you sitting on it? Are you dealing with, there's too many variables. So Linda, I commend you for being conservative on your time and use it more often. Just think like a tanning bed. You need to go for a 5-minute tan, and if you're not pink and burnt, you can always do more. But if you go for 20 minutes and you look like my water mug by the time you get out of the tanning bed, you can't undo that. So it's easy to overdo it on a vibration plate. Generally speaking, no harm done. And of course, if you're sucking it up and pushing it through like some do, you will become accustomed to it and used to it. But I question where you progress from there. And we've got lots of sessions to, you don't have to be an exercise guru. I didn't know any of this when I first got started. I had to learn when I blew my knee and had to figure out how to lose weight and didn't have the body to help me do that anymore, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Linda says, it's made a huge difference with my legs. And that's going to be that sometimes, especially with lymphatic or circulatory or the pain like Glenn's dealing with, let your body tell you when you need a fix, and keep it brief, 2 to 3 minutes, or be proactive. Maybe you're going for other therapies, or you're going for a mall walk with your friends, or maybe it just kills you to walk to the post office and back. Use your plate for a minute or two before or other things to give you that energy lift, to give you that lymph, that fluidity, get you more stable, reduce falls, improve your brain, whatever. Everybody pays attention to what the benefits are after the fact. And usually you don't do the research until after you've got the thing sitting in your living room. So thank you for wonderful questions today, guys. Keep them coming. Seppi says, thanks so much. Yes, great information. And I can be overwhelming. I know I was a little snippy with you as well. But if you are joining partway through, I encourage you. I think this is the 5th one now on YouTube. And just look, Debby Crash Course, and you'll see the past few sessions. Or after I stop talking, you can go back and watch the replay on this one. Jean says, replying to Jean. So I'm going to leave that there. Katrina says, I use weights, straps, bands, and weighted gloves. I mix it up. Very enjoyable. Variety is the spice of life. I'm starting to sound like my mother. If you're getting bored and your vibration plate is collecting dust because it's work now, get the mentality, the workout. Workout itself is a bad word. It just is a mentality. And go do like a spot treatment, or you're going to go have a circulation boost, or, just sit on it and clear your Facebook messages on your phone. Find a way to re-engage with your machine that reminds you how good it makes you feel, how good it make you felt, or how good it felt when you first started it. And stop beating yourself up so much about the workout that you didn't do or the session that you missed. And a lot of times, if you're not motivated getting started, it's sitting in the box still, and you're calling in because it's the 29th day and you haven't had a chance to try it, I encourage you, open it up, whether you've watched a session or most people don't read the manual, they just play around, but, try it, play around with it, be a little kid that's curious with all the buttons and, how it feels when you do this and that. And the sooner you start experimenting, the sooner you're going to have the confidence to progress and try other settings. And all this newbie stuff that I'm lecturing you about is going to become less and less relevant. I want you to enjoy your experience, and I want it to be something you look forward to, not something you regret and talk dirty to because it's something you have to do. And if you feel a little better after you start moving, then and you throw in I find with me, I'm just going to do a couple minutes because my knee's killing me or my back's killing me or I'm in a bad mood today. So I do a minute or two and then, okay, I'll do one really mean squat. And then next thing you know, I've done a plank and a push-up and a massage, and I'm still only under 5 minutes. So step up to the plate. That's the first part. Katrina says, I'm fabulous. Well, thank you for saying so. It's been a long day outside of the yard. So I'm like hopped up and I need more machine time. Replying to Katrina, overall better health. And that's sometimes as definitive as an answer that people can offer, but I guarantee you, just get moving, whether there's any structure or purpose to it, just get moving. And as you feel better, one thing I want you guys, before I think I've got a few more questions here. No, I think I'm getting down. I've got one more here from Jackie, but stay curious, be a little kid. Science is curiosity. It's not cookie cutter, do this and that. Science is about, I wonder if, and we explore it and we see what happened. Same with a vibration plate. Be conservative on your time. Be conservative on your intensity, close feet, in oscillating. The others are kind of fixed and it's not worth a discussion. And if you are dealing with anything below baseline, or you're just fearful, maybe you've had a poor experience, maybe you've tried a million things and everything else has been a disappointment. I don't want a vibration plate to be a disappointment. And it's almost an obsession with me. It's really rare that I can't find a workaround or a tweak for everything and anything, because for so many years, I've been supporting the medical people. I support users as young as 6 months that are completely paralyzed and in wheelchairs, right up to 100+ year olds that are barely in their walkers. There's always a way. And sometimes when you're selecting a plate, the right plate, the best plate doesn't exist. It really depends on what you personally want to accomplish with it. If you don't have a big exercise background, keep it simple. Oscillating is really all you need. Think of lineal and pulsation, the lateral movements as an added feature. More movements, more motors and components. So combo machines, the more movements you have, the larger the machine's going to be, because it's got to house these other things. It's got to be heavier. So sometimes there's reasons people have 2 and 3 and 4 machines, because you're using it in different places in your life or in your home. Or maybe you are dealing with a chronic issue and you want one in the bedroom and one in the bathroom and one in the recliner. So, think outside the box. Common sense applies. Keep it simplistic if you're not a big exercise guru now. And if you have any specific questions, whether you're watching this right now or on the recorded basis, as I said, tag me at Debby with a Y. I'm going to drop you some Lifepro links. I'm going to drop you some Debby links. There's still an awesome, amazing sale on with Lifepro right now. In the US, they're also, of course, available on Amazon, in Canada, in the UK. More and more of you in Australia and New Zealand seem to be getting them there somehow. But if you are looking at Lifepro globally, just make sure that your power source is the same as the equipment you're looking, whether it's a vibration plate or anything that plugs in. And that's usually best sourced through the UK or European channels. North America, you're better off going through the States. And whether it's available on Amazon or their site, I encourage you to compare. But I'm pretty sure most of the deals I'm seeing are better with Lifepro Direct today. Jackie had one more question. Would the vibration plate help with my dad with his rheumatoid arthritis? The answer is, behind door number 3, absolutely yes. In the same way that him getting moving and being active is a good thing. The scary part when you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis is it's a good days and bad days condition. So there's days that are really good and you can do certain things and tasks. And then there's other days that aren't so good and the symptoms are worse or they're heightened. So it's super awesome as a symptom management tool. So for the intermittent swelling, as a tool, it's low impact for the exercise, the movement, depending on where his symptoms are presenting and where they are, where he's physically starting at. There is some research, but the research is kind of, you're going to be left, how do I set it for this on that? Let him enjoy the experience. Let him do what feels good to him. Because if he doesn't like how it feels, you're going to scare him off and perhaps overdo it. A lot of my therapists do this all the time. You want the protocol. Debby, just tell me what frequency it was at. Okay, but good luck with that. And then you try the protocol and don't understand why you scared the crap out of yourself or your patient. You don't just jump into a protocol. You need time to assimilate. You need the system to become adapted to the activity. Then you can decide how to tweak and what avenue, because you understand what you're on and how your body feels and reacts to it. And within that period, you're going to see a lot of improvements short term. His hands really bother him. So a vibration plate would be great. He could put his hands on his knees. If it's specifically just the hands and you're worried about him using something like a vibration plate and his mobility sucks and his mobility's poor and he's completely by himself, life gets in the way. The better choice sometimes as a starting point is a massage gun. A massage gun is like a pocket-sized vibration plate. But if the hands are really bad, pain, swelling, grip strength is another thing. I don't want him getting into a situation where he's going to overdo it or put himself in harm's way trying to get down on the ground. If he can get down on the ground and sit on his hands, that's awesome. But that's not actually a very good starting point for most folks. But hanging on to a massage gun, just hanging on to it, not lifting it and trying to do anything like this, just like a vibration plate, a mid speed will be smoother, less choppy. Choppy, slow speeds with a massage gun, he has to hang on to it from bouncing out. Just have him lay it on his lap. Hang on to it with both hands, comfortably, not for dear life. And just let the resonance of the vibration being made by the gun soothe his pain, his swelling. Start resolving some of the inflammation and use it whenever he needs to for a minute or two as symptoms present. If it's the hands, another reason, a pocket-sized or a smaller vibration gun is a good starting point. Sometimes people have a couple because you got to have one by the nightstand over time, when you find alternatives that are not things you have to swallow, in the form of a pill or a treatment, natural movement curing symptoms, what a novel concept. A vibration plate moving those symptomatic areas is a blessing with little side effects. The worst you're going to do is feel a little bit of itchy, pins and needles when you start out. Keep it brief, but I think you'll find that's a better starting point and something he's more confident using. Just show him how to set it, bring it up to a mid speed, let him run it for 5 minutes to start, see how he feels, and make sure when you're introducing the vibration plate to other people, warn them about the itchiness and teach them the amplitude lesson. It's not the only way to do it. There's lots of ways to use a vibration plate, but I like using it that way because I got a bad knee, and I know many of you are starting from a place where you're starting to improve your health, and I don't want to spook you or have a setback because you've overdone it for the first few sessions starting out. I hope that makes sense. All right, 19 of you are still here. I want to give you just a couple more seconds to make a comment. If you've been trying to comment and you think that I'm ignoring you because you don't see your comment there, you need to be joining me on the main Lifepro page. If you're watching this on YouTube on a recorded basis later, it is pre-recorded. Sometimes people are trying to have conversations with me, and I don't want you thinking I'm being rude. The only place right now that this runs live when it's me is Lifepro on their main Lifepro fitness page on Facebook. I share it to the VIP group and some of my private groups, and Lifepro posts it up on YouTube after the fact. So again, thank you for joining me. Don't work too hard. Enjoy your long weekend if you're having one. And as I said, I'm going to post a recap of some of my recommended Lifepro videos, as well as some of my personal videos. Any questions, reach out. Shop now. The deals are on for summer. Start thinking towards the fall. I know many of you are getting back to school and routine. And if the routine's getting too routine, time to mix it up with something new or a new approach. So thank you for joining me and listening to my ramblings. For anyone that I seemed a little bit harsh today, I'm just very passionate about making sure you understand it's not cookie cutter. I recognize many of you have accomplished many great things doing it that way. But I know that you can get caught up in a lot of the marketing. The AI is complicating it more. There is no definitive way or best way for every single person to improve their health. Otherwise, we wouldn't need all these videos and tools to do it. So pick something you enjoy. I hope the vibration plate is one of them. Bang for your buck. Out of all of Lifepro's tools, you can get the wellness, symptom management piece, and the fitness in one tool. It just takes a little bit of time, experimentation, and patience with yourself. Be kind and keep it consistent, guys. I'll see you next month, first Saturday of the month, every month. I will do my best to see you again. We've been consistent so far. And thank you for joining me, guys. Have a great day and talk amongst yourselves if you guys have questions. And if you do have questions after the fact, those of you that joined me, I did ramble a bit. Maybe you're a little bit more like this. Tag me at Debby with a Y. And if you haven't already commented as to where you're from, whether you're a new user or just getting started, please share whether you're a new user and maybe some tips for those of you that are out there that are becoming regulars. Thanks for joining me, guys. Let's keep the convo going. The more we converse, the more we comment, the more Lifepro is shown on Facebook and other platforms and reaches more lives. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.